This video is brought to you in partnership with Mint Mobile. More on them in just a moment. You don't have to give up reading when you get a full-time job. Is it a bit harder to find enough time to read at the pace that you used to? Yeah, definitely. For me, it's taken a bit of conscious effort to make it happen, but I have been reading at a really good pace this year, and I want to share with you some tips and tricks for how I managed to, balance that time-wise. I no longer have, hours-long breaks between classes. My deadlines aren't so distant anymore, and I don't have nearly as much time to kill. I'm telling you right now, if you're a college student, take advantage of that while you have it and savor that luxury while it lasts. So how am I supposed to keep up with such a time-consuming hobby when 40 hours of my week is taken up by one thing, that thing being my job? Especially considering that the rest of my life is taken up by sleeping, seeing friends, spending time with loved ones, and all of the life admin stuff that's not so glamorous like grocery shopping and cleaning. Where do I find the time? Let's go over 3 different sort of categories here. Category 1 is the power of the commute. So when I first started my full-time job in January of this year, I was living pretty far away from my office. If I drove, it would take me about an hour or an hour and a half on the worst days to get to work in the morning. And sometimes I took the train and the T. I'm in Boston, so if you're familiar, I was getting up super early to leave in the morning. I'm not doing that anymore. I live a lot closer now. This is fantastic, quiet hobby time if you choose to accept it. The difficult part is accepting it. Riding the train was great because I could read a physical book. I could, put my headphones in, put on some background music, and get through a couple pages on the train. For some reason, I felt like I couldn't read as fast on the train. I don't know why, that's just a me thing. I didn't love reading on the train, but kept me going, kept me making progress on reading. There were also some times where I would just put in an audiobook while I was on the train and just stare ahead. I don't know. It worked. Depends on the day. The next option is audiobooks while you're driving. I feel like this is the most common one that I hear people doing. There were times where I would actually look forward to making a long commute while driving for the purpose of listening to my audiobook. So that was pretty nice. I usually do prefer reading a physical book when it comes to fiction. Recently, since I live a lot closer now, I've been biking to work and I've been listening to nonfiction audiobooks. I feel like I like nonfiction audiobooks way better than fiction ones for some reason. It just is a quirk of how I like to consume it. AirPods in, transparent mode if you're biking, for the love. But I'm usually able to get some of the audiobook in on the ride, and it's nice, it's relaxing. I do look forward to that every morning. There's also time to read if you get to work early. So when I was taking the train, I would usually arrive, just because of the way the train schedules work out, I would end up in the office before most people. So I would find a quiet place. I'd read for 20 or 30 minutes, depending on how far in advance I actually got to work. So that was really nice. Depending on your office environment, it can be really nice to have that time in the office with no one around. It's really kind of cool. Let's take a moment to talk about the partners of today's video, Mint Mobile. You might be asking yourself, Sam, why did you accept a partnership with an affordable premium wireless provider? How does that have anything to do with reading? Because how else are you supposed to download audiobooks on the go? How are you supposed to access an online ebook library? How are you supposed to watch this video without Wi-Fi? All of these things help you read more, and that's exactly what Mint Mobile provides. For just $15 a month, you get access to the nation's largest 5G network. And I bet you're wondering how they make it so affordable. Basically, what it boils down to is they're really good at lowering overhead costs. So there's no brick and mortar locations, no salespeople to pay, and all of that savings gets passed on directly to you. They make it super easy to switch. The main way they do it is eSIMs, so you can switch over to Mint Mobile directly from your phone in the comfort of your home. And if your phone doesn't accept eSIMs, just let them know and they'll send you a free physical SIM card. I've tried it out firsthand, so I can tell you that Mint Mobile is all it's chalked up to be. So to start saving on wireless and make reading on the go easier than it has been before, use the link down in the description to sign up for your first month of Mint Mobile for $15. That's trymintmobile.com/SamCody. trymintmobile.com/SAMCOTE. And thank you so much to Mint Mobile for partnering with me for this video. Now, category number 2 is during the workday, which I know, surprising. So some days I'll use half of my lunch break to eat lunch, socialize, catch up with people, and half of my lunch break to go somewhere, sit in a comfy chair and read, which honestly, like halfway through the day, that is some valuable recharge time. And I find that after I do that, I'm always glad I did. It's nice to have a break from people, especially the job I have. It requires a lot of interaction. So it's nice to take a step back, go off on my own for a bit and read a little bit. If your job is conducive to it, I know a lot of people also really enjoy listening to audiobooks during work. This isn't something I can do with my current job, but I did have an internship back in 2022 where the type of work it was something that I could just pop in an audiobook and, get to business. I was cranking through tasks while listening to bell hooks. It was incredible. Because think about it. If you're listening to an audiobook that's 10 hours long and you have an 8-hour workday and you listen to that audiobook on 1.5 times speed, you're crushing an audiobook a day. It's wild. Which unfortunately, that's not one that I can use anymore. My job it's not the kind of job where I can do that. But if yours is, that would be a fantastic way to get in some more reading during your day. And method 3 feels obvious, but I'm going to go into more depth, is nights and weekends. I want to start off this category by reminding you that it's okay if you read less than you used to. I think this is something that I really had to contend with at the beginning of this year, is just the volume of time that gets committed to a full-time job. And if that means reading a little less, sometimes that's just the way it is. And I want to talk about why that's not always a bad thing, why nights and weekends can be, really great for reading. The other options I mentioned, they are great, but it's very much trying to fill in all the gaps in the day, where I honestly wouldn't recommend doing all of that at once. Like, it's not always great to fill every spare moment with a book. And let me tell you, there's nothing better than getting home from a long day at work and cracking open a book that I've been looking forward to. And yes, it does mean that I'm not going to get through as many books as fast, but is that always a bad thing? I can tell you, a couple years ago, I did the 52 book challenge. I don't know if I did that on purpose, but it was just a year where I read a lot, and I ended up reading 52 or 53 books that year. And it honestly didn't feel very good from a consumption viewpoint. Like, I felt like I read too much. I didn't have enough other stuff occupying me, so I just read a ton. The years since then, I have consciously been trying to read not that fast. 52 was just too many for me. I know everyone has a different threshold. Some people read way more than that and are super happy with that, and that's great. For me, 52 was too much, and cutting it back was actually it was okay. One thing that I've been doing that, only for certain books and when money allows, is buying the mass market paperback and the hardcover, both used books if I can. I've never done that with new books just because that would get super expensive. But with used books, it works pretty well. But I can bring the mass market paperback back and forth to work. I can leave the hardcover at home, and that's really nice because then I have the nice big one that I can read when I get home, and the smaller mass market one is a bit more portable. My office has a couple different book clubs. I'm not part of them. I wish that I could be, but I literally cannot for the life of me get myself to read on a schedule in any way. It just, for some reason, does not work for me, but I know a lot of people love those book clubs. It's a way of engaging with people at work in reading. So it's a way of kind of melding those two worlds. They don't have to be mutually exclusive if you don't want them to be. It can be a great way to form community with the people around you that you are spending 40 hours a week with. Book clubs outside of work are great for this too. It can be a social event if you want it to be. Again, hasn't really worked for me in the past, but it's something that a lot of people really do use and appreciate. One thing that I know is a great tip for me, but I haven't been using as much as I want to, is reading before bed. If I can get 10 pages under my belt before I fall asleep, that's 10 more pages than I would have otherwise. And if you do that consistently, you'll get through books. I think in the past I was able to, sit down and read, 100 pages and then forget about it for a few days and then come back and read another 100 pages. And I mean, it can work, but it's not the best, I don't know. It's not the healthiest way for me to do it, I don't think. But the times where I have consistently read before bed, I've been surprised with how fast I'm able to actually finish books. So that's one thing that I do want to reinstate in my own life and could be really helpful for you too. Don't underestimate the power of just simple consistency. And if like me, you're in your first ever full-time job, it's gonna be okay, and it's gonna be different. Okay, that's all. See ya.